Hi, I'm John Arana, and this is Karina San Martin.
Hey, everybody.
And we're here once again
Yes.
at the Drop.
At the Drop. Welcome back.
Dropping truth and bringing life.
Yes.
And man, I'm so excited about this series of episodes because we're talking about how to live an intentional life.
Living with purpose, on purpose.
I
love that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the difference between just going with the flow.
Yeah, taking it as it comes.
Versus leading your life.
Leading your life,
and how important it is to kind of figure that out and establish, the certain questions. But so today we're going to start talking about the how-to.
Yes.
How do you get to live an intentional life? But you had a story you wanted to share.
Yeah, well, because today we're going to talk about the first thing is to learn to value yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, that like if you don't have value on yourself and you don't value yourself as a person, it's very difficult to pass that on to anybody else. It's difficult to value the other people around you. It's difficult. It's almost like difficult to be intentional because it's like you don't feel like there's a reason to be intentional.
You don't even appreciate yourself.
Right, because you're seeing yourself a certain way and you're seeing yourself as lacking value or importance, so you don't give importance to certain things. And so when we were talking, I was like, oh man, I remember this one time. I know for sure Evie was born. It might have been Grace also.
Yeah.
So I think we had two kids, and I was just like feeling so drained and just worn out and just mommy all over the place. And I remember I told Sergio one time, I was like, I just don't have any me time, like it's that very basic common thing all moms experience. Like I just don't have anything for me. Like I don't get pedicures. Like I can't even go like here all by myself. I can't do anything by myself, And I remember telling him kind of like I started putting it on him. I was like, you should tell me to take time for myself. And I'm like, you should tell me, you should plan stuff for me.
Seriously, wow.
I was so like, you just get like so emotionally engrossed in this mindset, And I remember he told me, and it stood out to me so much. And he was like, if you need time, you need to take that time.
Yeah.
And you're the only one who can do that for yourself.
Yeah, nobody knows.
And he told me, he said, it's not my job to give you that time.
Sure.
I can make a space for that.
That's right.
But you have to tell me you need that time. And you have to, in other words, you have to value yourself enough to say, hold on.
Yeah.
I need this.
Yeah.
Or I need that.
Yeah, exactly.
And when he said that to me, I remember I didn't like it. I was like, I don't think I agree with that. But as I've grown, I'm like, that's very true. Because that's also me taking responsibility for me and saying, yes, I'm going to be a great mom and a great wife, but I'm going to be a great me first, because I have to put that value on myself that I'm worth everyone pausing for me. I'm worth that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a displacement of value.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I know your mom, my wife, has a tendency to be like that.
Yes.
Because she feels that the more I do for people, the more valuable I am.
And we do get value from that.
The more valuable I am.
Yeah.
And sometimes she'll be like, my gosh, I've been running around doing stuff for everybody and I don't have any time for me. I haven't been able to get my stuff done.
Yeah.
And
I'm like mother, like daughter.
Well, come on, honey. Make yourself a priority.
Yes, make time for you. You are important.
Yes, you are important and you deserve the resources, the time, the rest, whatever it is that you need. And so, when you start adjusting and trying to balance your values, then you start realizing, it is important for me to have time for myself.
Oh, yeah.
It is important for me to go and exercise or eat right or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think valuing yourself is the first step.
Yeah. Because that helps you prioritize well.
Yeah.
And it's not in like a selfish way. Some people some people do this in a selfish way,
Right,
and that's
right.
also not healthy.
Also,
you know what I'm saying?
some people are on the other extreme.
Yeah, some people are on the
I
other
value
spectrum.
myself. I don't have time for you.
So much that I have time for nothing and no one ever. Yeah, that's the other spectrum.
That's the other extreme.
But we're definitely talking about like a healthy. Self-love,
Yeah.
you know, which is
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people grow up in dysfunctional families, which like 99.9% of the families
I mean,
are
everyone has their
dysfunctional.
things.
But a lot of people grow up in an environment of a lot of criticism
that's
and
true.
a lot of put downs,
Yeah, no,
you
it's
know,
very true.
and a lot of negative talk and communication. And man, it's hard to grow up under that and then value yourself.
Yeah.
Thinking like, man, I'm important,
Yeah.
or I'm worth it, or I'm a great thing. You know, when you've been under that type of garbage and just misinformation, you know, it's hard for people. And so some people are like, you know, I don't think I can achieve that. But hey, listen, Jesus died for you.
That's right. That's right.
He gave his life for you.
Right. Yeah.
You must be worth something.
Oh man. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're worth his sacrifice on the cross. And that shows me that even if you're not a Christian, you know, you're thinking like this man did this because he believed that his sacrifice would benefit my life.
Right. Yeah. And he believed that all humanity was worthy of that sacrifice,
Exactly.
not just selected few who, you know, like it's not just a selected few who chose to believe in him.
That's right.
He didn't
That's
die
right.
for just those people.
He died for the whole world.
He literally took that punishment and that shame and that everything that we deserved. He took that upon himself. Because he saw that humanity was worth that sacrifice. And I think that just that alone is such a huge identity giver.
I mean, you start there. That's like huge right there.
Yeah.
That God
Yeah.
thinks you are worth the sacrifice of his son.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and
you
that
know,
we shouldn't minimize that.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I have a little issue with religious people that are always trying to be so hyper spiritual, you know, that they're like, oh, I'm just a sinner. You know, it's like, hey, listen.
Yes, you are, but
that's not my identity.
Exactly.
That's not your identity.
It shouldn't
value yourself.
Right.
And I think if you start valuing yourself, then you start realizing, oh man.
Yeah.
I got some stuff to bring to the table.
Yes.
You know, I got some talents. I got some dreams. I got some things that I would like to do. In fact, Jesus said, everything boils down to loving God, loving your neighbor, as you
yourself.
love yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think loving yourself and valuing yourself is the first step of being able to live intentional.
Oh yeah, because I think what it does is it puts it's like almost like when you do that, you're putting yourself in a position to care about your life.
Yeah.
To care about what you do and how you do it and when you do it and if you do it, with whom you do it. You know, it begins to affect every decision that you make. Because if you take somebody who really doesn't see themselves in a great light, like they don't value themselves or they look down on themselves, I think that you can see that in how they live their life. You know, like they maybe don't take care of themselves in a healthy way. You know, they, you know, don't surround themselves maybe even with the best people who encourage them or pull the best out of them. I think it begins to trickle out in different ways. So it's you're setting yourself up for success when you do value yourself.
Because you want to learn, you want to develop yourself, you want to fulfill your potential, you want to be able to accomplish whatever dreams or things that are in your heart, you know. And I think that, you know, when I was young, long time ago,
newly married,
I was in college, and I remember struggling through, you know, who am I? What am I going to do? I've always been an analytical person, and so sometimes overthink things. And I remember talking to a professor friend, and he said, bottom line, after we did all the talking, he said, there's one thing you have to do. That is the most important one thing in your life. And that is find out who you are.
That's really good.
He said, that is the cornerstone besides knowing who God is,
of
obviously.
Course, yeah.
But that's the cornerstone of your personal development.
That's good.
Knowing who you are, what are your talents, that you are worth something, you know, and so on and so forth. And I thought, like,
you're like, whoa.
Okay, well,
who am I?
That's what I'm trying to do. And he said, when you do that, when you work at that, then your life begins to open up.
That's so good.
You know? Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that until you know who you are, it's very hard to develop your potential.
That's very
because you don't know
true.
You don't know where their energy is. You don't know where the power is. You don't know where the thrust is because you're not connecting with it.
Yeah. Now I have a question for you, because obviously, like, I'm your daughter and I know you really well, and I know all that you've done and all that you do. So I feel like you have a lot to offer to us with this to answer this question. How or what are some ways that we can do that we can, like, discover, like, if we, those of us who are watching or listening, like, if we ask ourselves, who am I? And we're like, the answer to that is, I'm not really sure. Like, maybe, like, I know what I like. I kind of get my personality. I know what my job is. I know, like, you know, maybe I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm introverted, I'm extroverted. We know, like, some basic things.
Right.
But I think, like, that goes even deeper.
Sure.
You know, so, like, what are some ways that you would suggest for us to discover more about who we are?
That's a great question, and I think that it's a combination of things.
Okay.
There's no magic bullet.
Right.
Okay. It's a combination of things. I think one of the things is take some personality assessments. I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
You know, there's some spiritual assessments that you could take too. Do that.
That shows you, like, your spiritual, natural gifts.
Talents and gifts and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the personality type helps you to understand your natural inclination of your temperament and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then I think it's an issue of experimenting.
Okay.
Then I think it's an issue once you begin to identify some of these things, your personality, your temperament, your giftings, your talent, then you begin to practice. Then you begin to take different opportunities, you know. If you like to tell people what to do, then you're either going to be a teacher or you're going to be a leader or you're going to be, you know, bossy, you know, that kind of thing. You know, so you start experimenting, and I think part of the experimenting gives you experience.
Yes.
And
course,
as you begin to use what you have, then more is revealed to you. And then once you begin to identify your personality, your temperament, your giftings, your talent, then it's my belief, because it's my experience, that all that points me in the direction that I should go. For example, for me, it's been, you know, caring for people and teaching.
Yeah.
And so that pointed me eventually to being a pastor, a professor, someone who travels and speaks, you know. And as I identify that, I also identify that my talents and my giftings can be applied in different fields.
That's good, yeah.
You know, we're doing a podcast. You know, I teach at college. I teach in church. And so I can use those.
Finding the space for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as you do that, then your voice or your message becomes apparent to you. You know, as a teacher, as a communicator.
Right.
So I think it's a combination of things. You also have people in your life that are able to say, man, I
You're really good at.
I see this in you.
Yes.
I see that you have this talent, this ability.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's a combination of things, but those are the basic things that I think will help anybody.
That's good. That's really good. And I think that those are all incredible things. And I'm glad you touched on that at the end. I was going to say, you know, like, there's people in your life that it obviously needs to be someone that knows you really well, that you can trust, that's been a part of your life.
Yeah.
You know, that if you're not sure what you're good at, sometimes I think it's hard because you're like, when you're the person, it's like you see yourself a certain way. But if you ask somebody like, hey, what do you see I'm naturally good at?
Sure.
You know, like maybe ask your spouse or a best friend or someone who's been in your life. And they might say something to you that you're like, whoa, like I never saw myself the way that you're seeing me.
Yeah.
But now that you say it, I can see that, yes, I do that.
Yeah.
You know, and that helps you discover even more about yourself, you know. So I think those are all really good tips.
And there's some things that we are naturally drawn to. You know, there's some things that come easier to us than other things. And I think those are all indications of who you are.
Yes.
Who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and what I love about God is that He created every single one of us unique.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And
very
nobody has to be like anybody. You know, I don't have to be like anybody else.
Yeah.
I just have to be me.
Right.
You know, use what God's put in me in order to be able to reflect Him.
Yeah, 100%.
And fulfill my purpose.
Yes.
And I think this combination of things, but it's also a process. You know, this is not something that you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take a week and I'm going to figure it all out.
No.
Good luck on that.
It's true. Because and I know, and I know you know this, but I can attest to, like, you go through different seasons in your life. You know, like the season I'm in right now, you know, like the answer to the question, you know, well, who am I? Well, right now, that's changed even a little bit. I mean, the core person of who I am is always going to be the same. But, like, what I'm doing, my role, and it'll change even again, especially with my kids as they get older.
There's some things right now that are more in the forefront.
Yeah, exactly.
Than other things.
Right, and so that it adjusts even with seasons, with time, with, you know, where you're at in life, and things shift, and you know, and so I think it's important. It kind of goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about in the first episode, like to determine within inside of yourself, like who you want to be.
Absolutely.
You know, the type of person you want to be, and that also points you and directs you to like where you want to spend your intentional time and attention and investment. You know, like if right now in this season I'm like, well, I want to give more time to my marriage than I have before. Okay, well then maybe that's going to look different than before when I was like, well, I have newborn, so a lot of my time's going to my newborn.
That's it. That's right.
You know, so you have to be, I guess, what's the word? Patient with the process.
Yeah,
and the journey.
and you have to be willing to adjust.
Yeah, willing to adjust.
You know, I mean,
sure.
some things are beyond your control.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, your kids. Your kids are not in school, you know, so you have to be there attending to them. That's beyond your control.
Right,
You know, your kids go to school. Well, then now they're not there. That's beyond your control. You know, so there's some things that we just have to adjust and adapt and continue to pursue. I think one of the things that helps me to value myself is that God says in His Word that even when I was at my worst, that He loved me and sent His Son Jesus to be able to die on the cross to benefit my life.
That's good. Yeah.
So even when I'm at my worst, I have value in God.
Oh,
God values me even when I'm at my worst. So
that's
I think we need
to keep in front of us. It's good to keep in front of yourself, you know, like, because we all have those bad days, and you know, it's like that saying that says, like, you know, you're your worst critic, you know, and I think that that's true for almost everybody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that when your value, I find that, like, you know, just to, like, when I talk with people and stuff, that, like, when your value is in yourself, like, yourself based on your performance or based on your own abilities or based on what you can or can't do or when you nail it and don't nail it. It's like your self-worth goes like up and down, up and down, up and down. But when your value is in Christ, because of Christ, it's in God, then your self-value can remain at a constant level of, just like you were saying, no matter what, I have value, I have worth, I have purpose. It's not attached to my performance, my good, my bad.
That's right.
It's solely attached to Christ and what he's done for me.
That's it.
And I think that that's super important, to have your value in him, because then how you value yourself is, you're measuring on different metrics than if it was totally based on your own doing.
And the problem with that performance thing is that you're not always going to perform well.
Oh, no.
You know, and so you're going to be an emotional basket. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I like to tell
I know
people,
some emotional basket cases.
one of the things that I like to tell people, and I've been doing it more lately, is I've been telling people, look, there's somebody better than you inside of you.
Yeah, I like that. That's
and I
good.
think that the scripture says that Christ in you is the hope of glory.
That's
in other words, it's that which is in me that has been entrusted and deposited in me. Right. So I'm worth something right there.
Yeah.
But that's my expectation that the best of me is going to be manifested.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
I think that if you want to live an intentional life, the first thing we have to do is learn to value ourselves. Because we are pretty amazing people.
Yes, we are. Because
we just have to accept it.
Because Christ has made us in his image and has made us that way, and our identity has to be found in that and found in him, so that our value is in the right spot.
My circumstances don't define me.
That's right.
What defines me is what God says about me.
Oh yeah, 100.
And
that's some dropping truth right there.
Bam!
If I had a mic, I'd drop it right now.
Well, thank you for being with us one more time at The Drop. And we just want to encourage you to share this with your friends. Tell somebody that this is valuable to them, and just encourage them. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and just help us to get the word out there.
Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to bless your life, bringing truth and life. So God bless you. We'll see you at the next episode, and until then.
Have a great week.